Hi, everybody, and welcome to my channel again. Look, today we're going to talk about something that if you hear me out and you stay to the end of this video, I guarantee I'm going to save you money and I'm going to save you a lot of heartache. You know, when I was back in the United States, I spent over 20 years doing therapy. And when I started out doing family therapy, primarily because it takes you a little while to get paneled with the insurance companies. It takes you at least a year. So that year, I took nothing but family therapy cases, which were primarily marital cases, okay? And I could tell you, when the very first marital case, when I was kind of learning the ropes, I remember my mentor said to me, she said, look, when it comes to marriages, she goes, it's all about sex and money. She goes, it's very rare. Now, there are some situations where there's communication issues, but most of the communication issues are about sex and money. And so they broke it down now where they can actually give percentages. They said it's approximately 50% divorce rate of first marriages. 40% of the marriages will break up due to money. Almost up to 25% will break down due to sex. Now, when we say sex, we're not talking just physical sex, but we're talking about men will claim that through sex, they're not getting their physical needs met. In other words, she's holding out on him, in his words. They expect sex way more often than the woman wants to give it. And in America, women are working just like men are. They came home and they're expecting women to wash the clothes and do things around the house. And by nightfall, especially during the week, she's tired. So he's not getting enough sex. So on the other hand, I remember one woman came into me and she said, I remember what she said. She said, when I'm having sex with my husband, she goes, I could be anybody. She goes, he doesn't even look at me. So it's not the physical sex that's a problem. It's the emotional connection. So he's not getting his physical needs met with sex, and she's not getting her emotional needs set because of sex. Now, all of a sudden, all these people stay in America, and then they turn 62, and they want to come to the Philippines and retire. And I could tell you almost everybody that comes to the Philippines, I'd say 90% or more percentage have been married before. So every one of them that come here have had failed relationships. And that's not putting them down because I had them. So I'm not throwing stones at them. I'm just saying these are the people that come over here. And what are the problems you're going to have over here? You're going to have problems with sex and money. Now, let me say, well, what do you mean by sex? Well, okay, let me ask you a question. You're 62 years old. You've had a really bad time of it with your last marriage. It ended divorce. It wasn't a friendly divorce. You have children, they don't want to talk to you because maybe they've taken sides. You're coming over here and you're looking for a second chance at love. You have a choice. You can either meet a girl who's 50 to 55 years old, or you can meet a girl who's 30. What do you think they're going to choose? Right. You know what's going to happen. Right. So right away, what's happening is the physical need is a very primary mission for a lot of these guys. And even if they don't get married again, or even if they don't have live-in relationships, the sex is a priority. I mean, come on, man. You know, the Philippines and Thailand, these countries, they're known for sex tourism. And sex tourism just doesn't have to do with, prostitution, stuff like that. It has to do with just regular relationships. People coming here to start over again. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's fine. But I think you need to be wary of what you're stepping into. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about this. I'm going to give you at least a couple things that you don't want to do. Now, one of the nice things about me is I'm one of the guys that come here who's a pensioner. And I would say the majority of men who come here are pensioners. Now, there are some men that come here to have real money. And the big question everybody asks is why? If you can go afford to be on the islands or the Caribbean islands, or you can afford to have a nice house in a good area of Florida, why would you want to come over here? Well, maybe sex. Okay, maybe that's the reason. Maybe the easy way to be able to get into a relationship that you can have some sense of control over. Maybe that's it. But they come here. And so one of the good things about not having any money is that it's much harder to get robbed. And what I mean by robbed, it means getting in a relationship where you get hurt financially. Because if you don't have much money to give, you notice when money's missing. Yeah, I know every month, for example, that when I get my Social Security check and I check my bank statement, if I'm down 10 or 15,000 pesos, I notice it. Now, a guy's got a lot of money. He's not going to notice some of his little bit of money going away. So he's going to have a very different attitude toward money and toward the relationships he has. So he's going to be more inclined to give the woman money when she wants it. He's not keeping track of that. Me, I got a budget. And a lot of guys who are here on Social Security, and that's primarily what they're getting, they're going to budget this stuff. So the chances of them getting hurt when it comes to money are not as big as the guys that come with money in their pocket. Now, let me give these guys some help. If you're coming here and you have like more than $50,000 in cash, I'm just coming up with a number just to show you're not a pensioner. You never ever want to share with any partner how much money you have. You don't want her to see your bank account. You don't want to know how much money you have in your safe if you have one at home. And that's so that this is not part of the equation, because it'll be anyway. But if you're loose with your money, you'd be surprised. I've seen people get loose with their money with women and just take advantage of them. I mean, just unbelievable. They're constantly asking for money for things that they need. And then, of course, everybody in their family, even if their caribou gets sick, you have to pay. Well, if somebody comes up to me and said, my mom needs surgery, it's going to cost $300,000, you know what I'm going to say? I'll pray for her. Because I don't have that kind of money to lay around. And most foreigners that are here, who are here on a pension, aren't going to have, it's not even a thinking process. But if you got $50,000 in the bank, if you don't give it to her and she knows you have it, watch out. The other thing I think is your demeanor when you come over here. If you come over here and you show them that you're wealthy by doing a whole lot of things, for example, buying stuff that costs a lot of money, buying an expensive car, doing all these kinds of things, getting into like a first class place of apartment, maybe spend a real lot of money for rental, or worse yet, buy property. Even if you're not married to her, you say, hon, I'm 62 years old, you're 27, 28, and I know I'm going to outlive you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of you for the long run. And she goes, oh, you love me so much, honey. What are you going to do for me? He says, I'm going to buy you a home. In fact, I'm also going to get you a new car. So no matter what happens to me, you're covered because I love you so much. She would go, yeah. And you know what happens? A lot of times those relationships don't last. And then he's the guy in the bars telling you a story about how he got ripped off. No, he didn't get ripped off. He got ripped off because of what he did. Hey, it's instincts, man. It's instincts. If you got a lot of money and she's hurting for money, that's the game. You lost. So you never want to make a big purchase for her. I had a friend of mine who he wanted this girl, and of course, she's like 18 and he's 50, right? So he thinks what he's going to do is he's going to get this girl. He bought her a brand new phone, iPhone. They're expensive, they can cost 30 or 40,000 pesos. Had her get manicured, all that stuff, pedicure, manicure. She went and got makeover and all that kind of stuff. Well, that night, when he wants to go to bed with her, she don't want to go to bed with him. She says, I don't know you well enough yet. Yeah. That relationship was over first night. And he wants his phone back. Well, you don't do that. You don't spend money like that. Relationships will take their own course. I remember the first time I learned this lesson, when I got here, I was that 62-year-old guy on a pension. And I had a little bit of money, but I didn't have a lot of money. I had a little bit of money, like a lot of them do. In America, 60% of people retire who have less than $10,000 in their savings account. I pretty much qualified into that group. 4% of Americans have over 500,000 in savings. So the rest, 35%, is distributed somewhere. But I would say a great majority of the men that come here are in that 60%. So you're not in any position to be spending a lot of money in hopes that something good's going to happen out of that, because there'll be a valuable lesson to you. What happened to me, I was 62, girl was 28. Relationship didn't last long. She was asking me for money every day. I need $1,000, I need $1,500. And I asked, she always had some good reasons too. Very creative reasons of why she needed the money. But I was going through a lot of money. I couldn't believe how much I was spending. And I felt good she wasn't asking me for allowance. I kind of wished I gave her one. It would have been a lot cheaper. But see, that's part of the problem. What was happening was she kind of had an idea of how much I was willing to spend because I gave it to her. As soon as you give it to her, she goes, I got him. I know how much he's got. Anyway, we broke up for other reasons that had nothing to do with money. More sex. It had to do with the fact that she had a drug problem, which is a whole nother thing on why she was coming to me for money. But when I had my third and last girlfriend I had here, she had met up with my first girlfriend. And the third girlfriend knew of the first girlfriend's name because I told her about her. And she didn't tell the first girlfriend that she was with me. So they're out on a tennis court and they play tennis together. What an opportunity, right? So they go and they sit down on a bench afterwards and they start discussing foreign men. And the one girl, my first girlfriend, said she didn't describe me as a boyfriend. She didn't say, yeah, I had this guy, his name was Buzz, and she named my name. So not many Buzzes in Dumageddon. So believe me, I pretty much identified who I was. She goes, yeah, I had this guy by the name of Buzz, and he was a good guy. But she goes, he was a bad sponsor. Not a bad boyfriend, a bad sponsor. So how did she see me as? She saw me as somebody who was going to be a sponsor. In a lot of these relationships you get over here, you're nothing but a sponsor. And you think that the reason she's with you is because you're attractive or whatever she says to tell you. I get scared anytime a girl says to me, you're so handsome. And I'm thinking, I'm 73. I might have been handsome 40 years ago, but my handsome stuff left a long time ago. So when somebody says, you're handsome, right away the red flag goes off and says, uh-oh, yeah, money's about to follow. Well, this is what happens with relationships here. So I'm going to give you some help with sexual stuff. First of all, if anybody gives you sex right away on the first time you meet them, and at the same time tells you how poor she is, we're not going to call that prostitution because they didn't ask you for money before the act. They ask you for money after the act. This is pretty smart, isn't it? So it's not really prostitution because they gave the sex for nothing. But, if you're a gentleman, you'll kind of help the girl out, right? That's why you don't want to have sex with a girl right away. You don't know her. You don't know what she wants from you. So to me, if it's coming down to that and it's pushing to that, maybe you need to hold off, think with the big head, you know what I'm saying? And give yourself a little time to think that through because because let's face it, that's the beginning, that first day of what might be a long relationship where you get pulled apart financially. So I would also say, and this goes to do with the big head, the small head, is let's face it, we're dogs. We're dogs. We get turned on by sight. It's just the nature of who we are. God and the universe, they create us that way. And they created it to be pleasurable too. Why? So that we would have children. So we would procreate and keep the race going. So it wasn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. But you can always take a good thing and make it bad if you don't use it and it's proper. Now, am I saying, well, you shouldn't do anything until you get married? Or no, I'm pretty liberal, but we're not. It's a difference between being liberal and being foolish. We see too many guys come over here over the years, and I've been here in the Philippines 11 years, and I've treated a lot of people, back in the United States, hundreds of relationships. I've been around relationships. I've heard about the relationships here. You know what? They're not that much different. That's the funny thing. It's just sex and money Philippine style. Just different. It's just different because, for one, is they need the money a lot more. Okay? So that changes the dynamics a little bit. So you'll see it more often here, where in America, a woman may not give it up for money. No, it's not, unless you got a real lot of it. The other thing is, what I said to you earlier, people come over here, they're more than likely going to be able to get women they couldn't get back in America. And if you want to know what really pisses people off, do what I did. Get married to a woman 15 years younger. That's it. I brought her back to America. You talk about getting criticized. They said I was robbing the cradle. My friend's wife said to me, oh, this relationship will never work. And I said, well, what do you mean it'll never work? They said, look at her. She can do better than you. It's only 15 years difference. You come over here now, there's 30 and 40 years differences. What do you think they're going to say about that? You got to get realistic about what you want. I've come to the place where I just don't, getting married is, I don't want to get married. I'm 73. I'm not going to get married. And if you're over 60, you got to think that through too. Because we had some guys that got married who were over 60 and they're dead. Some have left women with children. It's not good. It's not good at all. I met a woman online from Cebu. Her husband got COVID and died. This is what she offered me. She goes, Buzz, here's what you can do. All you need to do is come here. She goes, I got a brand new house. I got a brand new SUV. She goes, all you got to do is you can be with me and just help me pay the electric bill. She goes, that's it. And maybe the food bill. She had 2 kids of that guy's. They had 2 kids together. They weren't together real long. It was less than 10 years. But he was like 68, something like that when he died. I've lost a lot of friends here who are in their 60s. So, you don't know how long you're going to live. So why get married? I'd really consider that like almost a mistake to get married to somebody. Because here's what some guys do. Some guys decide, okay, I got money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to protect my money, because if I get married to the girl, she's more than likely not going to take money from me. How many times I heard stories where guys come over here and marry a girl and build her a house because she wants a house. After all, he's going to take care of his little missus there, and get her a nice car, make sure she doesn't have to work, take care of her family when they have needs. And then all of a sudden, she decides she don't want to be with him anymore because he's getting old. And maybe she wants to be with a younger guy. And you know what? It's not unusual here for people to be with a woman who's married to be with a younger girl. I get contacts on Facebook from women who are married. It's like, what do we have to? They see that I'm single and they're married. They're married. I got pictures of husband there. And I said, what are you contacting me for? Gee, I wonder what it is. Maybe it's money. Maybe, right? When I was in Dipolog in 1995, and I was with, at that time, my fiance, and we were walking, and I saw the school where she went. She goes, it's a school I went to. I saw all these motorcycles there. I said, what are all those motorcycles? See, I thought it was fathers picking up their kids. No, these are married men picking up girls out of the college after they got done school. This goes on. This goes on. It goes on in every country. There's nothing unique about this in the Philippines. But that's what you're stepping into. You feel like you're stepping into a culture that's going to have a higher moral standard. In some levels, in some things they do. But when it comes to sex and money is sex and money. It doesn't change here. And they have their own program here. And you better be aware of what that program is. And you got to be able to guard. If you have money, God bless you. You earned the money. You probably worked hard for it. And you know what? You should guard your money. And if you don't have money, more importantly, try to hold on to whatever you have. And as far as sex is concerned, I know a number of women here, they go one or two tangents. When they get upset, they either get very angry and you got a little female Manny Pacquiao on your hands, because they don't care how big you are. That has nothing to do with how big you are. They'll take you on. And we're all raised, not to hit a woman. Or they go the other way, where they won't talk to you. And basically, they hold out on you. And what are they going to hold out on you? Not talking to you? That's not going to bother you. You'll find something else to do. But what they will hold out on you is sex. Yeah, and that bothers you. That'll bother you. Yeah, they're not talking. You say, hey, it's quiet in the house. I like that. Let me go turn on the TV and do something else. But then at nighttime, when you want the sex, and she's holding out for you there too, and you don't want to talk to you. So I think you want to become very aware when you get here. Figure out, number one, are you a person who has a lot of money? If you have a lot of money, great. I told you three things. Don't share how much money you have in the bank. Don't spend a lot of money around. Don't be blowing a lot of money. Like you got more than, you got, like the cash is just flowing. Try not to make any big purchases for her. You can get clothes here and there, that's fine. But don't buy her a brand new car. When they see you do stuff like that, they know your pockets are deep. And as far as the sex side's concerned, look, it's better for you to give yourself a chance to get to see what type of sexual relationship you're going to have. There was one girl I met at the mall. We were just meeting, and she did something I never saw before. She had a pad with her, and she started to draw these concentric circles. And on the very outside of the concentric circle, she wrote in associate. People that you may have associated, people that you might have seen once in a while. And then she wrote casual friend. And that's cool. Now you have to understand, I was surprised because I had just talked to this woman once. And she said, hey, why don't we go to the mall and meet and let's have lunch? I said, all right. So it was our first meeting. And she's doing this concentric circle. Then she does the next one and it says, friend. And then the next one she writes in there is close friend. And then underneath that was friends with benefits. That's exactly what she wrote, friends with benefits. The next stage was boyfriend. Next stage was fiance. And finally, her last stage was marriage, a marital relationship. Now, this girl wasn't trained as a counselor. I mean, I was kind of shocked. I don't know if she saw this in a book or what. So I asked her, jokingly, I jokingly, because I said, so where do I fit in? I've known her, what, an hour? She says, you fit in with the friends with benefits. Really? Really? I mean, I jumped 6 steps in just an hour. Yeah, was that a trap? Absolutely it was. Did I fall for the trap? Absolutely I did. And you know what happened? She called me up the next day after we had our little together time, and she wanted a promotion. She wanted to move with the boyfriend. So I knew her an hour in the mall, another hour at her place, or 2, maybe 2 hours. I don't know how long I was in there. And now we're at the boyfriend stage. Guys, this doesn't really happen too often in the United States. This is something that's very common here. And because they know the one thing they know that you need when you get here, when you're in your 60s, is that you got hurt. You got hurt, and the great equalizer and helping you heal from your hurt is sex. They can't give you money, right? They can be kind. That doesn't hurt to be kind. That's something they could do. But they know right away if they can give you sex, they're going to get you. They're going to know that. So Guys, no matter where you are in the world, particularly here in the Philippines, the Philippine program is a little different than it is in America because there's not the poverty there. You're not dealing with the poverty and the motivation to get in these relationships. Plus, you're more than likely in America not, for one, if you get married to somebody, if it breaks up, usually you can get 50%. Here, I've seen men lose it all. The woman goes and gets she gets a legal separation. Well, who's going to keep the house? They're going to give it to the guy? Really? In this country? It's not your country. You're not going to get the house. You're dreaming. You're dreaming. More than likely, she's going to get the house. And he lost. I've heard countless stories about that. So, hope that helps you. All of you that are going your way, and some of you are already here. Maybe you've been here a while, and maybe you haven't made any selections. Maybe you've been cautious. Good for you. Good for you. No, you're one of the smart ones. But I know some of you are going to say, I've been with my wife, 15 years, and I never had a problem like that. Yeah, well, 50% of American relationships work. And I'm sure there's a lot of relationships that come here that work too. So I'm not going to dispute with you about that. But what I'm talking about is very real. And it's happened to a lot of men. And I talk to a lot of men here because I've been here a long time. And a lot of men have been through this thing I'm talking about sex and money. Hope that helps you. Please, I'm going to do some more stuff about this because I think it's really important that you protect yourself. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy what the Philippines has to offer. Get into good, successful relationships. That's great. If you can find a good, successful relationship after you retire, then coming here was all well worth it. And a lot of men do get in those relationships. I don't want to disparage getting in a relationship here or say that you're more than likely going to get in trouble. I'm not going to stop. I'm trying to scare you. I'm just trying to get you to use your brain. Do a little critical thinking here, okay? Please subscribe to my channel. Help me get going here. And hit the like button. And I'd like to say to the algorithm, please allow some of your fine YouTube listeners to hear some of the things that I've talked about in this video because I've been here a long time. I've been coming here for 30 years. I've seen everything here. I've also was a therapist in the United States, so I practice with relationships that are broken. I know how this feels. I know how this feels because I see it. I see it. I was seeing it every day in my career, and I see it here. Take care and have some good relationships. We'll see you next time.